conservation burial ground. We interviewed Joe Whitaker, the founding director of Honey Creek. We also visited Wendy Edson, director of Phoenix Funeral Services, one of the few female undertakers in a male-dominated profession, who has facilitated over 1,400 natural burials. On the same trip, we visited Ramsey Creek Preserve in Westminster, South Carolina, the first conservation-level natural burial preserve in the United States, and spoke with its founder, Dr. Billy Campbell, and his spouse, Kimberly. We also visited several historic cemeteries, such as Oakland and Southview in Atlanta. In the summer of 2019, Meg L. Winslow, Mount Auburn's curator of historical collections and archives, and Rabbi Joshua Siegel of the Association for Gravestone Studies led the team on a tour of Mount Auburn Cemetery in Cambridge, Massachusetts, the first rural/garden cemetery in the United States. With monument expert Laurel Gable, we toured King's Chapel Burying Ground, founded in 1630, and the oldest burying place in Boston proper, along with several other colonial-period burying grounds. We also assembled focus groups of clergy and laity representing communities of racial, ethnic, and denominational difference, whom we asked to engage the team's practical theological approach to the questions of corpse care and to provide feedback to the team on the central questions of the research. We presented preliminary findings regarding contemporary corpse care at several professional conferences, both as a group and individually. The pandemic hit during the middle of the research and fundamentally changed the focus and shape of the project. Still, the core of the vision for the project persisted, and Cody has remained the driving force from beginning to end. Cody J. Sanders, Old Cambridge Baptist Church, Mikeal C. Parsons, Baylor University. Introduction. One day, we will all become dead bodies. When the Spanish waged imperialist war against the people of Mexico in the early 16th century, in addition to death by the sword, the colonizers also brought death by disease. Smallpox ravaged the people of Mexico such that it disrupted the funerary rituals of cremation and ritual burial of the ashes because there were simply too many corpses to care for in the customary way. In some instances, houses had to be simply brought down atop the corpses contained within. Additionally, many violent encounters between the European colonizers and the indigenous peoples of North America included a disruption of deathways as a means of violence. For example, the Mexicans at times engaged in cutting open and offering body parts of the Spaniards as sacrifices, which aggrieved and offended the Spanish notion of the sanctity of the corpse informed by their Catholicism. Similarly, the English colonizers demolished Powhatan temples in which the bones of their ancestors were buried as a method of uprooting them from land that held a deep significance for a number of reasons, not the least of which was that it was where the remains of their dead were interred. In the aftermath of Civil War battles, when thousands of corpses lay across the battlefield, the task of death care was overwhelming and nearly impossible. Drew Faust notes that survivors would often shovel corpses into pits as they would dispose of animals, dehumanizing both the living and the dead through their disregard. The Civil War disrupted the deathways of 19th century America and stretched the government, the military, and nearly every community in the United States beyond its funerary capacity, indelibly changing the shape of death care in the ensuing century. War is always attended by the necessity of caring for the dead, whose corpses rest beyond the parameters of the time period's good death. The United States spends $100 million every year trying to find and identify the 88,000 missing in action from every war since World War I. We might remember in our own